Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Nails Before Films, where I do nails and review movies. Today, we're doing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Why? Because the Texas Rangers made their way to the World Series. Woohoo! Now, I'm not a Rangers fan, but they're one of the few teams that still haven't won a World Series yet, so it'd be nice if they could do that this year. Anyway, enough talk about baseball. I'm here to review movies. Let's get right into it. Now, I still haven't watched all of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. I've only watched the first four and the 2003 remake. So those are the movies I will be reviewing today. I won't go through a recap for all five movies, but the idea of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is there's a cannibalistic family who hunts, kills, and eats people in rural Texas. They are batshit crazy, and they have so much fun terrorizing people. I'm going to rank the movies I watched and go from my least favorite to my most favorite, like how I did my Scream video. Starting from the bottom is, of course, The New Generation, or The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, I really want to like this film. I usually like the wackiness in the Texas Chainsaw movies, and this one probably takes a cake regarding absurdity. However, it's just too over the top. I know it's not supposed to make sense, but I was just so confused when I was watching it. And because I was so confused, I didn't find the movie funny, which I did for the previous ones. I honestly don't like the Illuminati subplot. It's just so weird and goes nowhere in my opinion. The hospital scene with Sally is weird. It makes no sense why they put that cameo there. I have no idea why Jenny is randomly saved by a plane. The story is just a hot mess. It's honestly a shame because it's pretty rare to see famous actors in horror movies, so I really wanted to like this one. I know Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey weren't big at the time, but still, it's interesting to see them in a weird slasher. It's just, this one is way too weird for its own good. McConaughey's character is obnoxious, and I don't find him charismatic at all. Zellweger's final girl, Jenny, is fine. I appreciate how she asserts dominance at the dinner scene, but the script is just absolutely ridiculous and makes it hard for me to like any of the characters. Oh, and I don't like this version of Leatherface. He screams a lot and is generally annoying. Yeah, this Leatherface just isn't cute in my opinion. Next, I can't really decide whether I like the third movie or the 2003 remake more. Both feel pretty soulless at times and severely lacked in originality. Well, the 2003 remake manages to capture the aesthetic of the first film and it has some amazing shots. It's just dark and gritty and doesn't capture any of the dark comedy of the original. On the other hand, the pacing of Texas Chainsaw 3 is slow at times and has some moments that just seem unnecessary. But the comedic family dynamic of the Sawyer family is still there. So I guess I like Texas Chainsaw 3 a bit more than the remake, mostly because I personally think the black comedy of Texas Chainsaw is just as important as the horror. Without the sick humor to balance the horror, Texas Chainsaw would be a generic slasher. Based on that, I would rank 3 a bit higher than the remake. So let's talk about the remake first. Like I said, the aesthetic is good and the opening kill is amazing. Honestly, it's not a bad horror movie and I appreciate the fact that they didn't do an exact remake. However, it does feel kind of generic and I don't like how the Hewitt family doesn't interact with each other that much. The only member of the family who feels like the original Sawyer is the sheriff. He's intimidating, has a sick sense of humor, and is just generally a nasty person. As for Leatherface, I think this version is fine. I usually think of Leatherface as cute because of how his family pushes him around and how he's intimidated a lot. But the remake Leatherface is more menacing and threatening. I think it's cool. I like the different interpretation. But I just prefer my Leatherface adorable. On a side note, for some reason, there are people on Pixiv who ship Thomas Hewitt and Baba Sawyer, even though they're technically the same person, just in different timelines. It's super weird, but somewhat adorable. Anyway, as for the victims, I think they're okay, not exactly likable, but I do feel bad for them because they basically got killed for helping someone. Well, the Morgan guy is not a good person. I can't help but feel he has the right idea of skedaddling out of there, so I can't really think of him as an asshole. The teens usually try to help each other when being attacked and always tell others to run while they try to fend off their attackers, which I think is admirable. Overall, I think the 2003 remake is decent, but it doesn't really do anything special or spectacular. Next, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. As I mentioned before, I like the Sawyer family dynamic in this movie. Although the members aren't consistent with the previous ones, they're as dysfunctional as always, and each member has their own personality. I just love how the Sawyer family feels like a regular family who banters and fights and helps each other. I like Tech's character. He's somewhat charismatic. I also like how Tink gets a golden chainsaw for Leatherface. It's super nice, and I just love the family bond of the Sawyers. The little girl is a nice addition. She's just as nasty as the others, and I think the part where they let her kill Ryan is cute in a twisted way. I don't particularly like how they imply that Leatherface also rapes people and has children with his victims. I mean, eating people is terrible enough. You don't really need to go that far. But Texas Chainsaw is really messed up, so I don't consider it out of character. Speaking of Leatherface, he's still the youngest and gets pushed around as well, but at least this time he pushes back. Also, I love the scene where Leatherface is learning vocabulary and keeps spelling food when the picture shows a clown. I think that's pretty funny in a sick way, and I just love how frustrated Leatherface is. As for the victims, I really like Benny, so I'm happy he gets to survive in the end. Our main girl, Michelle, is a bit bland at first, but I like how the traumatic experience brings some personality out of her near the end. I think she should do something when Benny's fighting Leather in the pond, but I can't really think of a way for her to do so whatever. That's basically it for Texas Chainsaw 3. I like the humor, but the movie is kind of slow and the part in the woods is a bit boring. Overall, it's fine. Next, I hate to say this, but it's the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I usually put the first movie as number 1, but I just like how wacky the second film is. But just because I put the first film in second, that doesn't mean it's inferior. I just personally enjoy the second one more. However, the first movie is just so iconic and it really laid the foundation for so many horror movies to come. Stuff like Alien, Halloween, Evil Dead, and so much more are influenced by Texas Chainsaw. Personally, I like Texas Chainsaw because of how bizarre it is. The Sawyer family is a curious bunch of slashers in my opinion. For some reason, I don't really see them as evil because they just seem more crazy than malicious. They're unsettling because I feel like they don't really see what they do as evil because humans are just like animals. What's so wrong about hunting them and eating them? Might as well have fun while doing it too. I just think it's amazing how a family so messed up seems like a normal family sometimes. They bicker with each other and scold one another, but are supportive at the same time. They aren't lovey-dovey or resentful towards each other, just a typical family with regular problems. It's bizarre how we can relate to their interaction, besides the torturing and eating people part, of course. Next, the horror. While I don't find the film scary, I do think it's very cleverly shot to be unsettling for the audience. The low-angle shot of Pam walking toward the house is just so iconic, as well as her being meat-hooked. The real horror of the movie is the absolute dehumanization. It's just sickening to see humans not only be killed, but treated as meat for consumption. It also forces us to look at how we treat other living creatures. It's understandable why people go vegan after watching Texas Chainsaw. Lastly, I love the bizarre humor in this movie. The dinner thing is just strangely comedic. There is nothing funny about Sally being tortured, and I do feel bad for her, but the thing is just absurdly humorous with the way the Sawyers act and how Grandpa fails to hit her with the hammer. The balance between the horror and the comedy just works, and that's a major reason why Texas Chainsaw is so iconic. Finally, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the movie I had the most fun watching. Right from the beginning, I knew I was going to enjoy it. I mean, the movie starts with Leatherface wearing his dead brother's skeleton sawing people in a car chase while Oingo Boingo's No One Lives Forever plays in the background. How freaking cool is that? Also, the end has a freaking chainsaw fight between Leatherface and Lefty. A chainsaw fight! That's absolutely hilarious and awesome. Lefty, being the absolute Chad, has 3 chainsaws as his weapons. He even hooks 2 small ones on his belt like they're guns or knives. It's amazing. The movie is completely wacky, like the over-the-top insane chop top, weird erotic scene with Stretch and Baba, and Drayton getting chainsaw in the ass. The locations are so cool as well. First, we have the radio station. Then we have the abandoned theme park hideout of the Sawyers. Everything is creepily stylish and over the top. I love how the tunnels are filled with human remains yet lit by festive lights. It's just so messed up. You might ask why this one is my favorite while The New Generation is my least favorite. I mean, the 2 movies are both wacky and nonsensical, right? Well, for me, Texas Chainsaw 2 is weird and over the top, but it's still a coherent film. And despite the randomness, the things that happen in the movie make sense. The New Generation feels random and weird for the sake of being random and weird, which is why I think 2 is absolutely hilarious, while The New Generation is just a confusing mess. I love the dark humor of Texas Chainsaw 2 so much. The Sawyer family is so over the top chaotic in this film. It's hilarious. I know as a horror film, the original is much more terrifying and influential, but 2 is just such a fun and messed up movie. I enjoy it so much more than the first, which is why it's my current number 1 in the franchise. That concludes my review of the first 5 movies of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. It is honestly one of the weirdest franchises out there. So much so I didn't even care about all the inconsistencies. I feel like everyone wanted to do their own thing and didn't care about making it consistent, which I'm surprisingly okay with. I'll definitely find a time to watch the remaining movies and do a video on that someday. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and the Leatherface dance nail I did. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share, do what you want, keep nailing it, and the Soul is family, people.